Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode here. And I am excited. Week 2 in Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month with my second inventor and innovator, Zach. I am so excited you're on. I finally get to meet you face to face, or at least what our digital age is doing now, face to face wise. So, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, you and I talked a little beforehand. It's like we've been talking back and forth for a couple years now, and probably I would say 3. I mean, I've been an
Yeah.
amputee for 5, and right off the bat tried surfing, and then I found you guys on Instagram, I believe. And so before we jump into what it is that you're doing and what you have done and where you're going with it,
hmm
let's get to know you. Like, I don't know much about you. You're very much very design oriented on your Instagram, but I know nothing about you. So, where's Zach from? Where did he grow up? What was your childhood like? What did you dream of doing?
Yeah, so I grew up in South Jersey, and ever since I was little, I was interested in engineering and design and things in that space. My one grandfather was an engineer, so I looked up to him. And then my other grandfather was sick with Parkinson's for most of the
Mm.
time that I knew him. So my childhood was kind of based around seeing my one grandfather kind of build and design things, and my other one struggled with a lot of daily tasks.
Mm.
So when I was looking at programs in school, I think kind of both of those experiences helped drive the direction for my career.
All
So I
right.
went to so I went to school it was Philadelphia University when I started. It's now Jefferson University in East Falls in Philadelphia, and I studied industrial design, which is this really cool profession that merges art and engineering. It kind of is at the intersection of that, and you can do lots of different you can go in lots of different subcategories of that. So I currently am in like the medical design space, but I have friends who teach. I have friends who design lamps and furniture. So the field is super broad. You can do
Huh.
a lot with it. And I only discovered that in high school. So I thought I was going to be a mechanical engineer. That's what I thought I wanted to do. And then I had a teacher who kind of saw some of the work I was doing, was like, I think you would really enjoy industrial design. And at the time, I hadn't really heard about it, knew much about it. He kind of opened my world up.
Oh, that's really neat. I feel like this is definitely the avenue of even today's youth. I know a lot of my kids' friends, my kids are in college now, but a lot of their peers were wanting to be engineers. It is a hot field to be in right now, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much you can do with engineering, as a major in general. And then I just feel like my generation, especially, grew up in such an interesting time where we a lot of our childhood was analog, and then we've moved into this digital age. And right when we were kind of growing up, those early middle school years were this blend of analog and digital, and so I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that wasn't in my early years. I think we might be dating ourselves on age here, but so what did you do? What were your passions when you were a child? Like, what did you do for fun?
I mean, I love like playing with Legos. I feel like that's like the standard engineer design answer. But I love Legos. I love taking things apart and then attempting to put them back together, looking just how things were made. I remember, getting a screwdriver set, like a special screwdriver set when I was little, and taking apart like the McDonald's toys and like they had like video game toys, just because I was curious of like how things worked on the inside. Um, so, that was like a big part of my childhood. I like playing video games. And I also have been a lifelong runner. So started probably running in
Yeah.
middle school, and then I continued through college. And then after college, it slowed down a little bit, but it's picking it back up again.
Nice. Well, just so everybody gets an idea, of course, if you listened last week, we are in the middle of Limb Loss, Limb Difference Month. And each year, this is really the only time I bring on guests. I kind of like doing I beat my own drum. Like some days it's a late night recording, and some days it's first thing in the morning. Having an interviewee, I have to have a schedule. I don't do well with schedules. So this month usually taxes me, but I always am so excited because it's just fresh and new. And this month, I just wanted to dedicate the time to people that are truly trying to make my community's life better. Adaptive, sports wise, to prosthetics, to pain management. I mean, I've got it all. And when you and I met, I had just decided to try learning to surf, loved it, and couldn't wait to get home with the surfboard in my pool, trying to figure out how I could practice in the desert. And that's when I met you and saw that your product was going to be something that could be tried. And it was still in prototype phase. Now, where are you in your education? Like, how far did you go with your education? Are you still pursuing a higher level, a degree?
So I graduated in 2020 from Jefferson with a bachelor's degree, industrial design. That's all my education right now. Since graduating, I've been working at a small design firm in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And then I've been working on Swell on the side.
Okay. And so you mentioned it, the Swell Surf Foot. And I have to tell you, I came prepared. I have my foot.
I'm glad you have
And
yours.
we got to show the product.
Yeah.
So this was amazing. Oh, you can see my rust and everything. Sorry, had a
No worries.
little screwy there. But yeah, like that was the first time in a while because of COVID. We hadn't gotten back to where we normally had surfed before. And so I was so excited to go back with something new to try. A very basic leg that I was very grateful that my prosthetist had made when I started dreaming big, and just from basic parts, no moving parts, nothing that is going to rust and close up. So it's great. Hard to walk in, but it was really kind of cool because one of the things that I struggle with was slippage on the board with a flat foot that didn't have a lot of that rubber texture. And your foot was great. I mean, that thing did not move on the board. So tell me a little bit about what part of I'm assuming that this was a project towards your degree. Can you tell me how the idea came about? Why did you choose working on an amputee product? Where did all this start? Start at the very beginning.
Yeah, so the industrial design majors are very project-oriented degree. So throughout the course of 4 years, we're given different design briefs to learn new skills, and then use the skills we learned to create projects. So throughout my educational career, I always tried to focus the projects I worked on, I guess, through two lenses. One, through the end user, which as designers we're kind of taught to think through, and then the other one was kind of like through a medical lens. So like I said earlier, some designers kind of go, like, say, furniture route or automotive route. I kind of like the medical lens. So all my projects kind of fell under those two lenses. So the way the senior year is structured is you have a whole year, so about 9 months, to work on a single project. It's called your capstone project, and that project can encompass whatever you want. You can do it solo, you can do it with a partner. So pretty early on, I decided to work with a partner, Yuhan, who can't be here today, and like I said, that project could be anything. So I kind of had gone into the project thinking, I want to do something kind of in the medical field, don't know what it is. I had worked on a project my sophomore year, which was oriented around Parkinson's, and I kind of had used my grandfather as an inspiration there, and I had a lot of success with that. I really enjoyed it, so I kind of knew that was the avenue I wanted to go. And the summer before my senior year, I had been kind of like thinking of ideas, kicking different things around, and I couldn't really land on a topic. And then one day when I was on Instagram, I saw an adaptive surfing event And it was, clips from, I think it was an Axis Surf or Amp Surf surfing event.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just thought this was so cool. Like, and there were just individuals who had been in wheelchairs who'd made their way into the water and they were prone surfing.
Hmm.
There was volunteers helping them out. And I was like, this is just really neat. And I need to, look into this more. And a lot of in the video, there was different types of technology being used. And I was like, I think there's probably something here. Let's take a look into it. And that was kind of, the start of the idea. And then from there, there's all sorts of adaptive athletes, surfers, in this case.
Hmm.
So we tried to nail down once Yuhan and I decided we were going to work together, like what sub genre or division of athlete could we work with. So we had taken a look at some of the beach wheelchairs, other types of equipment on surfboards, and then we landed on the amputee surfer because it seemed like there was a lot of people who were trying to do it, and the products that they were using were not working for them. So there was a lot of homebrewed solutions that they were coming up with themselves, lots of ingenuity.
It's exactly what it is.
Yes, it was crazy. And we're like, this, something, these individuals are making it work, but they really have to try to make it work. And looks like there's something here. So that was kind of like the impetus of the idea. And then from there, it was just, lots of research and conversations,
Yeah.
just to kind of, flesh out what were the problems, and what could we do to try to help.
So how did you do you surf?
I do not surf, which was
Does
kind of
Yuhan
crazy.
surf? Does she
She does
surf?
not surf. She does not surf either. So this was very much we saw what looked like to be a problem, and then we just, for the next 9, since then it's been, years now.
Right.
Just, dove into surfing, amputees, the whole lot of it.
So from the time that you saw that and go, "Oh, we could do something with this," to the time it was time to actually create the product, how long was that time frame?
It was about 9 months. It was,
Was it?
and that's even being generous because I graduated in 2020. So really my semester ended in March when it would have ended in May, because of COVID.
Oh,
So yeah, so the time was kind of, the end of the project was kind of cut short, which, in hindsight gave me even more motivation to continue working on the project after I graduated, because I didn't really get to do everything we didn't really get to do everything we had hoped to do, at this from the start, because things kind of had gotten cut off.
so was the project itself just to come up with the idea and kind of get it on paper what it would look like and how it would be? It wasn't actually to build the product, that was an after graduation draw for you
No,
2?
no. So the project is to, think of an idea and then get it as far as you can.
Okay.
So, people have worked on prosthetic projects for capstones before,
Mhm.
and we've done a lot of research in the beginning about, had anyone tried to tackle this before? What existed? What's in the market? Did any, student projects exist? And there were other types of prosthetic student projects, but nothing in the surfing field. And then something that we noticed was a lot of them were like this blue sky, theoretically this could work type thing. And something we determined really early on, we classes started in August, probably something we decided in September was, we want to we want to try to make something alongside of amputees that we can get in the hands of amputees that they can show actually works, which seemed kind of like a hard, a really aggressive goalpost to try to hit, by May of the following year. But we figured we'd strive big and we'd figure out where we would land along the process.
Yeah. Okay, so then if you have no surfing background, and I'm one of those that didn't at the time either, um, what did it take for you to learn what was really needed and what was missing from products?
Yeah, so this was kind of a dual pronged issue because I
Mhm.
neither of us had surfing experience, and we were on the East Coast, and surf season had kind of just ended by the time we picked this project. So it was after seeing what appeared to be struggles individuals were having, with surfing. I I was pretty hell bent on like this is something I want to do, but I realized it was going to be a struggle because it's getting cold here. People aren't really surfing now. So I had a lot of anxiety at the beginning of the project about talking to people who were amputee surfers, about their experiences, and then trying to find someone who we could design alongside. So the first probably 2 months of the project was conducting informational interviews with both amputee surfers and non-amputee surfers, as well as trying to locate someone in the tri-state area who would be open to testing this prototype product. So we reached out to a lot of various organizations, got some names, used Facebook, joined some Facebook groups, and just found individuals who were surfing. When we looked up amputee surfing feet, images came up on Instagram. We would click on those images and find out who had made this crazy modification, and then try to track them down. And it was like, hey, can we have 15 minutes of your time to ask you 10 questions? And everyone we had talked to was super open to discussing this with us, because no one really had was exploring this.
Right.
So we'd gotten like a ton of just information, just anecdotal information about what was working and what they had done to find success on the surfboard.
Yeah, I mean, you really had to start from ground zero with that.
Yeah.
And it's true, and when you say home brewed, it is truly whatever you can
Um,
make shift.
Duct tape and foam.
It's
Yeah, it was.
whatever sticks. I mean, my original one was literally a solid kind of foot bar with no movement, no ankle movement, no shock to it, and a piece of rubber sole cut to a shoe looking like
Mhm.
somebody took it off the bottom of a gym shoe and glued on there. And don't get me wrong, like my prosthetist made that for me for free with his parts in his back room.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. I mean, it was great, but when you put on the board, there wasn't enough flat surface area to
Mhm.
catch the board, so it was always like an edge only, and most of my foot was not even touching, which then just made any water rushing up there makes me slide off. So
Right.
that was the biggest struggle for me, and so when I saw yours, I thought, "This could be really great." I mean, there is some give to it. It's tight, but it has give to it, um, and it worked very well when it came to having more surface area on the surfboard. So that was great.
Yeah, like so in our conversations with the surfers, we had found that grip was a big thing. That surface area and having the proper stick to the board. That was one. Another one was the overall flexibility of the foot. So a lot of uh, amputees were using fixed legs that had no movement. And we later came to figure out that was because the insurance won't cover these secondary legs.
It won't.
Um, so then that finding kind of drove us to a third design point was like, how could we make this as far as how could we create it to be as affordable as possible, while
Right.
still offering some significant improvements over existing feet. And then additionally we wanted it to look pretty. We wanted to be something that someone would want to purchase, and use, and use at the
Yeah.
beach, use at the pool. So they were kind of the main design criteria, and all the criteria were, again, derived from those initial conversations we had, with the surfers.
Yeah, and it is. I'll tell you, the day that it came, I was so excited. Because, like I said, that was a couple years coming, and it was like we were kind of talking, and there would be time, and then you were trying to get the parts together, and I know that there was a lull in the parts and getting that out. So, take me to where you're at now. I know that, well, one, is this a company that you 2 have, or are you just still tinkering with it? I know you were gonna get into a second phase after people had now been able to trial it and give you feedback. So where are you in the process, and where's your dream for this? Is there a dream to continue? Because there is a need.
Yeah, so it's not a company yet. It's still an idea that we're tinkering with. We probably made 15 to 20 feet by hand the first time. They were made just initially in the studio and then eventually in my garage. Um, so we had about 15 out. We got a ton of feedback, and then we're taking that feedback and we're trying to integrate it into a next generation that we can get out and test. There's a lot of still unknowns around this. One thing I'm doing now is looking into regulatory. Like, does this need to be regulated? Do we want it to be safe for individuals to use? So all that costs money and things like that. So the funding has also been like another side thing that we've been trying to work on. But overall, I think we have a really strong idea that we're both invested in. And every time we have conversations with people, it's just more motivation to keep working on it.
Yeah, I think you need to, because I still haven't seen anything out there. And,
Yeah.
I try to follow what I can with the adaptive surf world. I mean, I know I'm a desert rat here, but it's still, there's a part of me that likes being in the ocean and everything. So this design here, this was your very first design. And
Mhm.
what are these parts made from? You said you made it by hand. So how, I mean, is this, take me through something that like someone my age probably doesn't get. Like, is this those machines that actually create from this, is this a rubber? What is this?
So I guess this, to go all the way back, so this was like the first version here. Actually,
Wow.
give me
Okay.
one moment. I'm gonna put my
Yeah.
glasses down. Sorry about that. It was raining and now it's sunny.
Okay,
So
there
this
you
was the
go.
first version. One of the first versions we did. This was the first one that we felt like was actually working. So this is just wood, rubber. We ended up casting this piece, and then these are two dog toys. And
I
then there's
love
like
it.
some skater bearings and other things in here.
Okay.
So all the custom pieces, what you're holding, all this rubber,
Mhm.
we created 3D printed molds. Everything's done digitally on the computer, and then we make molds from those, and then from those molds we cast, we pour a type of rubber in there, and there's two types of rubber. So there's the one that's more grippy on the bottom, and then there's the
Yeah,
harder
that's,
rubber that still has give, and then that piece that you're holding there is 3D printed, and
yeah.
that's like that main shell.
Yeah. I mean, this for the water flow and everything was great. Because definitely, especially the way I get up, this is my lead foot on the surfboard.
Hmm.
So pulling my leg up, all I was doing, you bring up tons of water with that leg trying to, and I swing it around because this is my knee component and
Right,
it's solid. So there is no give, like you were saying. There's no movement here except I now have a little bit of a give on the ankle, which I did not have before, which
right,
allowed more surface area on the board, which helps with stability and stick, right? So
right.
what was the feedback that you've gotten from people on what are some things that you think you'll be okay, wait, I should back up. Have you trademarked, copyrighted this stuff? I mean, whatever has to be done so it's legally yours?
We have trademark on the name. There's not a patent, but we are
That's
taking a look at that with the university. We've currently engaged in conversations with that. So the overall idea is out there. I mean, there's so much out there that people know it came from us.
yeah.
But the main feedback that we got, which we kind of were expecting, was it's a little bit heavy, which I think you said,
Yeah.
that we've got that from some others as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then everyone seemed pretty happy with the amount of flex we had, but I think there's opportunities to explore potentially more flexible in certain areas and stiffer in other areas. So we're looking at several emerging technologies that we can integrate in the next generation of this to hopefully lighten it a bit, as well as make it a little bit more flexible.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I would say, and as a beginner surfer, like I'm not going out and doing any of those huge waves, you know. And
Right.
so I would think that the bigger wave, the higher the speed, the more they would understand that kind of flexibility, that's probably perfect. But when you're doing smaller waves, you don't have that push and that drive, so you don't
Right.
have as mine felt more solid than
Right.
movable. So, yeah, I guess maybe that's like a level of expertise or level of wave like we have with our legs, we have K level legs for based on what our activity level is,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
would
So
say
I
that
think, yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there that, there's a scope, I think. And when we first designed the product, we were just trying to get the initial idea out there. And does this work? Because most of the function is in, a lot of it's in the material science that behind the
mhm,
materials that we picked, but it's also in the shapes that we picked and how they kind of work together with one another, to give that flexibility.
okay, and so where do you see okay, so I know that when I got this, you said this was one of the last first prototypes that was going out.
Yeah, so I gave
So
out one other one, and then the one I have here actually doesn't have a top on it. So this is the last one of the first ones that I'm pulling on myself just for record's
the
sake.
right, exactly. So have you guys begun prototype 2 or the secondary
Yes,
test?
yeah. So we're in the digital. So I'm still in the digital phase. I'm hoping by this summer to get another, this next round out. And then I'm also engaging in, some conversations to try to get some funding to take this, the next step forward. So the goal would be after this next phase went out to, hear their feedback, make additional tweaks if need be,
Mm,
and then hopefully secure some funding that we can, have a first round out. And like I said, there's still
mm,
um, things that we're looking at, like regulatory wise.
right,
This is just new to me. I don't know what we need to do to cover everyone's safety.
right.
Even at the very beginning of the project when we had when we were trying to test this, the
Mm,
amputee we worked with was, super helpful, and willing to try, anything, but we wanted to make sure that this was safe for him to use. So like
right.
we had devised rigs for ourselves to just, try to walk on them, called it an empathy rig. And there's photos of that on on some publication that we talked to. But just to test these on ourselves to make sure we weren't going to give something that was going to break,
Right.
on an individual that we were testing with. So, and like I said, he was super helpful in the beginning to give us that initial feedback.
Well, that's great. And I've noticed since becoming part of the amputee community that they're just really genuinely wonderful people. Like they're
Yeah.
no one's trying to push anybody down or hold people down. They want everybody to succeed. So it's really kind of cool that even as an outsider that you were brought in because they could see and they can appreciate the fact that you're trying to do something to better their lives. So when it comes to doing something like the patent, now I was fortunate enough in December to go to MIT and do some gait studies and work with their biometronics lab and everything, which was really really cool. Um,
Hmm.
and so I see like PhD students and master's students working on a project that they're taking over from the last person who graduated, and then it keeps building each year. It makes the kids think further into it, deeper. And I know that they have patents on things, and it's kind of a split with the idea of that professor and those students with the university. Is that kind of where you're hoping that scope goes? Because that helps having the university backing you with something like that, or
Yeah, so things were a little different when we were Philadelphia University, and then when we merged with Jefferson, some of that changed or was still being defined when I was graduating. So one of the things I'm doing is actively engaging the university. To, you know, we worked on the project when we were there, but
Mm,
since then, a lot of other additional work has been developed as well outside of the university. So I think we're trying to
mm,
keep all of the avenues open for ourselves. And then, at the end of the day, if we're not able to get this off the ground as we had hoped, I think, open sourcing is always an option, something we considered earlier on in the project. Um, but I think, we've spent a lot of time on it. We know the ins and outs of the project. So I think there is still some merit in trying to push the idea forward in that sense.
yeah. Well, I can say it's a great project, and I know being where you're at and how it starts as a project and an idea in a classroom setting or a university setting. What kind of dreams do you two have for making this a company, making this the reality that can be in any amputee's hands that wants to surf? Where is that at for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, my goal would be to have, you'd be able to go online and just purchase this like you would a pair of shoes. I think I had a conversation really early on with a professor about how, how easy it is. You have a plethora of options to buy shoes and things like that, and but to find the even when we were in the research phase of this project, trying to find the price and manufacturing costs of some of these prosthetics was really hard. You had to navigate through lots of different menus, and then at the end of the menu, you didn't even have a price. It was just like contact so and so. So I think some of that is like behind, like I said, regulatory walls. But at the same
Right.
time, there's really not a lot of transparency for the end user, uh, who's already struggling, with a lot of other things, and they've just lost part of who
Right.
they are. And, how can we make this overall experience easier for them? And I think, getting in the ocean and feeling, just the water
Mm.
around you is a great way to do that. So what's the easiest way that we can help someone do that?
No, very true. I mean, most time when you do try to look up a part that you would love to try, a knee, an ankle, a foot, new foot, whatever, yeah, you go through the whole website, you get all the schmoozy data, like all the nice description, but there's nothing there except talk to your prosthetist
Right,
about that part. And quite frankly, insurance companies, they want you to have the base of anything. To get a running blade, that's not a necessity for anybody. Even if you built your life on being a runner,
right,
your insurance company is not gonna go, "Oh, you should have a running blade." That's not part of their deal. So if you can get that, and I know with the US, there are a lot more restrictions. I know there are companies that are starting to form out of the US that are bypassing insurance, but I think that's because of their insurance, the way their insurance works in their country. And
right,
so it's a great idea because if someone wants it bad enough, if it's at a good cost, they'll
right,
save the money up to get it,
right.
right? And I think surprisingly enough, the amputee surf community is growing and it's actually very big. Um, it's amazing that there
Yeah.
isn't more product out there for them.
Yeah, and I think just, there's been talks now for the last probably 2 years about, well, 2 years ago, surfing was introduced into the Olympics. Like, there's been petitions to get adaptive surfing in the Olympics. So I think, that's on the brink of happening. I think once that happens, it's
Boom.
going to open up just the viewing field for people. So there should be options for that. They shouldn't have to duct tape a 6-year-old foot to go try to go to the beach to stand on the
Right.
surfboard. It's just not acceptable.
Well, that's how I kind of found, what you did is how I found out how to figure out how I can get in the water. Because with, one, you have to deal with the salt water, right? So there shouldn't be really moving parts because it's gonna end up getting
Right.
just rusty, right? So I actually Google searched surf legs. I didn't know an above knee could surf. I wasn't even sure. And
Hmm.
so, looking that up and then trying to figure out what the design looked like because of a knee. And so
Right.
you're like, "Okay." And I actually reached out to someone in California and said, "How did you get yours to look like that?" And she was like, "Well, I made this design. Would you share it with me?" She's like, "Yeah." And she sent me the prototype dimensions, the angles and everything. And so, and I know that the foot I have is very similar to the foot that she was using. And, so yeah, I mean, it's just basic parts
Yeah. So
and
and
there's a need for it.
Yeah. So, I think that's kind of where my head is at with all of it. Like I said, there's, it's still a lot of ideas, that I'm trying to figure out the best way forward with. But like you said, and like where I'm finding, there's a real need for it.
Oh, for
So
sure. And it is growing, I can tell you that for sure.
yeah,
So I'm guessing that with the second prototype to come out, the new and improved version, you're gonna will you be looking for people to give it a try to give more feedback before you take that to like a permanent? I mean, where do you think this will go? And I know this is a huge jump in thinking, but in the perfect world, if you could pinpoint, do you think that this next prototype is going to be really close to a final draft for you guys? That then once, if everything went smoothly, there was no regulation problems, there was none of that, getting it to market for people to actually get it in their hands and buy in mass quantities.
Yeah, I mean, I think with even with the version that you have, there was many versions before that
Yeah,
we done in the lab. I think even that version, there's a lot of merit to the overall idea. A lot the second version, I think, is going to be kind of a blend of that version and some other ideas. And I think that version is ideally going to be the one that I want to put forward. Like you said, even I think on yours, there were some rusting issues. Like that was another thing that some of the individuals brought up. So like just kind of working through little idea. There's little changes like that, and then there's some larger changes we'd like to implement. So I think there's almost like a version 1 and a version 2 that we're looking at here.
yeah.
But I would hope within the next year, if everything could go smoothly, we would be looking at least having a small run for people to purchase. And over the course of the last 4 years, I've had countless people reach out and ask, is this available for purchase, or kind of hear more about this? Can I try one out? So I have set up a list, a web page where people can sign up if they want to hear more. So I do have like an ongoing wait list that I plan to tap this summer, with some of that testing I'm hoping to get done.
Well, I want you to make sure you send that website, because then people that are listening to this can, if they're interested, that would be a great way to connect you
Yes,
and keep it relevant to them and keep it relevant that you can see there's a need, because
yeah,
I think you'll see there's a need.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's surfwithswell.com.
Surfwithswell.com. You guys heard that here. I'm so excited. This is awesome. I am so excited to have you here. And I do plan to have you back on, and maybe we can
I
get
would
your
love to.
partner in crime so we
Hmm.
can hear her side of it and how what she did and brought to the table. Um, but definitely want to see what the new version is going to look like, feel like, and everything. And it would be great to have you on to see what that feedback looks like, and hoping to see this become a mainstream product for us average Joes to be able to just get on a very savvy website and buy without having to go through, the
Yeah.
red tape of prosthetists and based on that too, it was interesting, and I have to say this because you have to be thinking this. When it came, I couldn't wait to see it and put it on. And then I was like, oh, how am I going to put this on? Because I had an existing leg. So is that also in the thinking, the engineer thinking in your brain on how to make it for the general public connectivity? Because I actually took mine to my prosthetist and said, here's my leg with the other foot. Can you get this on there? And they had to shorten the pipe a little, and do some things to it. But where are you at with the connected? I mean, the design's amazing. The connectivity is also a really important aspect to that.
Yeah, so when we were going through the initial design process, again, since we were, both new to
Mm.
this whole world, we had to do research on like what were standard connectors and things like that. So it's designed around a standard pylon mount, and then I think, going forward, something we would obviously have would be better documentation on how to either connect this up yourself, or the recommendation of taking this to your doctor to then have them help, and my goal would be to have, documentation that the doctor could then use to adjust it to fit the person's need. But I think if
Yeah.
we're looking, a few years down the line, I would I'd like the user to be able to purchase it and be able to use it, but I think there's also the possibility of integrating, and collaborating with different prosthetists and practices, and knowing that this is an option, and being able to sell it, or just inform users from that end as well. From there's a sport, there's this product, you can try it out. So I think that's definitely an avenue that I've thought about. Haven't really
Yeah.
explored too much yet, but I think there's
Right.
definitely something there as well.
Well, yeah, and it goes down to like what is it that it's connecting to? Like mine is, as you see, is a completely different leg. So
Right,
and that's due to the salt water. Like
right,
it will wreak havoc if you're an above knee on any knee joint you have.
right.
Even if you have like a hydraulic system, I wash it out and clean it out when I get done being in the beach or like snorkeling or something. And it doesn't matter. It still gets kind of junked up and needs some WD-40
Yeah.
and everything. So maybe people are more doing a leg versus, I mean, now below knee, I don't know. Maybe they don't have the parts, but I almost think that that's something that people have to think about, that it's not just about the foot. It is about the whole leg that they need to add on to them.
Yeah, and I think, when we started the project, we had to focus on we had to focus. I think we made a decision pretty early on that we were gonna focus on just the foot because we figured we could deliver a more holistic product given the time that we had
Right.
by focusing on that. But I definitely think that there's
Yeah.
opportunities to revisit, the whole leg, the leg system,
Mhm.
especially for the saltwater where it's an environment that's just super
Right.
corrosive and hard to
Yep.
design around.
Yeah. No, that is great, man. There are endless possibilities for you. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what's coming out next.
Me
And
too.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time here. Thanks for connecting with me. Thanks for not forgetting about me because I know the road was long there for us. I'm grateful beyond words that I got to be a person that got to do this because I'm a person that never thought I'd surf. And then I lose my leg and I'm like, I think I'm gonna surf. Why not? Try it. And so you've made that a possibility for me and something I look forward to doing because I feel super cool using your Swell Surf Foot. And so I'm excited to see what's coming next. And I'm just excited to be a part of that and watching as you guys grow as a company, possibly, and a product. And I just want to say it's really an honor to see you and Yuhan doing something for a community that you're not even a part of. And I hope you never have to be. But it that's what this whole month was about. I wanted to be able to honor the people that are actually putting in the time, the effort, the dedication to help others, which I think our world needs more of. So you
I
guys are
agree.
amazing. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm excited to see where this journey goes.
Thanks. I mean, thank you so much for, welcoming me into the community and delivering
Mm.
us feedback. I mean, this whole project wouldn't be possible without the community. Everyone we've talked to has been super supportive and helpful, and both in both the surfing community and the amputee community. It's just, there's a lot of love and hope, which is, really nice to see.
Well, it is, and I'll tell you what, the ocean is very healing. So
Yes.
you're spot on. That is going to be a place for people to go and really heal from where they've been. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate you being on. Thanks for the time, and look forward to hearing more from you guys.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking again.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
See ya.